What's up, y'all? You already know it's Mr. Hood Love Mikey B. And this is Hood Love TV, where you live, love, and learn. Yo, what's crazy today? Today I'll be reacting to Donald Trump posting an AI image of him portraying himself as Jesus Christ, man. It's crazy. Yo. Hey, yo, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It's like it's ridiculous out here. So Trump went on a crazy rant last night, and he posted up a lot of different things. We're gonna get to some of them. We're actually gonna start with what he had to say about the Pope. He's also beefing with the Pope right now. There's a lot of news in this cycle right now with what's going on in Iran and a port that they're trying to block off, as well as a lot of the things that's going on with Trump as far as the Epstein files. We just seen Melania come out and make a statement out of nowhere. Everybody thought it was out of nowhere, but we're going to get into that too, because it's a young woman named Amanda Uruguay that's actually saying a lot of things right now about Melania Trump and her husband, Donald Trump, the president. So it's a lot going on in the news cycle right now. It's a lot going on. So check this out. We're gonna start here. Where's my remote at? Grab my remote. Grab my remote quickly. Yo, Harry's a good. He does some good stuff right here. I've been following him. This is what Donald Trump had to say about the Pope first. We're gonna start with this.
And indirectly, we have this story from the Washington Post and other publications that have been talking about it, that a Cardinals meeting at the Pentagon was unusual. And it was so unusual that apparently the Trump administration threatened the Pope and threatened the Vatican militarily, which, if you're threatening the Pope and you're, approaching conversations with the Vatican like this, you're probably not the good guys. I feel like that's kind of intuitive, but I guess for Donald Trump, it is not. Through the first year of Donald Trump's second term, tensions between his administration and the Vatican have simmered. Days after the one-year mark of Trump returning to office, an unusual meeting happened between the two sides that took place that has now turned up the temperature of the public discussion about the relationship, following expressions of concern by Pope Leo and Vatican officials over Trump's actions in Venezuela, Minneapolis, and elsewhere, and just generally with ICE. Pentagon officials on January 22nd hosted a top Vatican diplomat, Cardinal Christophe Pierre, then the Holy See's ambassador to the United States, for a rare visit. It is not typical for a church official to meet with the Defense Department instead of the State Department or the White House. During the discussion, the small group of Pentagon and Vatican officials discussed their differing views of current events, according to people on both sides. What is less clear is how adversarial the meeting was. One senior Vatican official, familiar with internal assessments of the meeting, called it unusual and, quote, not a walk in the park. It was a frank and direct dialogue on issues where the distance between the Vatican and the United States is evident and clear, said the official, which sounds like a really nice way of saying the meeting was a disaster. In the weeks before the Pentagon meeting, Leo had publicly said multiple times that nations should use diplomacy and not war. Sounds great, in my view. On January 9th, he gave a much-discussed address to his diplomatic corps, warning that, quote, war is back in vogue, and that unnamed powers had completely undermined the post-World War II order. He criticized governments that use weapons as a condition for asserting one's own dominion. Such a mentality, Leo said, gravely threatens the rule of law. In light of the comments, the Defense Department officials attempted to justify their military action to no avail because they have just different views on this. The Vatican and government statements portrayed the encounter as far more mild than news coverage has revealed this week. Since then, the narrative of a hostile dressing down of church officials by U.S. military leaders, has dominated some corners of liberal social media platforms with good reason. There's been a lot of reporting on this. Critics of the Trump administration have latched onto a claim
Mickey baby, what's up?
Story that a U.S. official in the meeting went so far as to invoke the Avignon papacy, the era in the 1300s when the French crown used military power to dominate the papal authority. And that's where the threat of military action comes from Donald Trump's administration toward the Pope. And this is what Trump said on social media about it.
This is what Trump had to say about it on social media. This is what Trump had to say about it. He said Pope Leo is weak on crime and terrible and terrible for foreign policy. He talks about fear of the Trump administration, but doesn't mention the fear that the Catholic Church and all the Christian organizations had during COVID when they were arresting priests, ministers, and everybody else for holding church services, even when going outside and being 10 and even 20 feet apart. I like his brother Lewis much better than I like him. Trump is always doing that. He always saying stuff like that. He goes on to say, because Lewis is all MAGA, he gets it, and Leo does it. I don't want a pope who thinks it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I don't want a pope who thinks it's terrible that America attacked Venezuela, a country that was sending massive amounts of drugs into the United States. Even worse, emptying their prisons, including murderers, drug dealers, and killers into our country. And I don't want a pope who criticizes the president of the United States because I'm doing exactly what I was elected in a landslide to do, setting record low numbers in crime and creating the greatest stock market in history. Leo should be thankful because, as everyone knows, he was a shock and surprise. He wasn't on anyone's list to be pope and was only put there by the church because he goes to say there's something else. But he's Pope Leo was actually a Republican before he went to the Vatican. He was a registered Republican in America. He's an American. So I don't know what Trump is talking about because, Leo was actually a Republican as well.
Context for how their relationship has really soured over time and gotten much worse. And this is what Trump said about it on Truth Social. He said, and I quote, Pope Leo is weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. He talks about fear of the Trump administration, but doesn't mention the fear that the Catholic Church and all other Christian organizations had during COVID when they were arresting priests, ministers, and everybody else for holding church services, yada, yada, yada.
He says at the bottom, as everyone knows, he was a shock and surprise. He wasn't on anyone's list to be pope and was only put there by the church because he was an American. And they thought that would be the best way to deal with President J. Trump. If it wasn't for the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. So he's saying he put a proxy in the Vatican that's now going against him. It's crazy out here, man. Yo, these streets is crazy.
He likes his brother Lewis much better than I like him because Lewis is all MAGA. He gets it and Leo doesn't. I don't want a pope who thinks it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I don't want a pope who thinks it's terrible that America attacked Venezuela, a country that was sending massive amounts of drugs into the United States, and even worse, emptying their prisons, including murderers, drug dealers, and killers into the country. That claim in particular, and the claim before that as well. Also, a lot of facts against that, a lot of fact checks against that. And I don't want a pope who criticizes the president of the United States because I'm doing exactly what I was elected to do in a landslide, setting record low numbers in crimes and creating the greatest stock market in history. Donald Trump was not elected for more war. He was elected for the exact article we just read, this contentious meeting, this threat of military force. You were obviously
this is where it gets crazy.
Rocket scientists to declare that. And this is that AI photo that Donald Trump posted of himself as Jesus Christ. I mean, just look at this monstrosity.
Yo, Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, somebody else made it. I don't know who made it, but Donald Trump reposts himself as Jesus Christ. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Yo, it's nasty. It's crazy out here. I don't know what's going on. But let me tell you something. Some of the stuff that we see going on, we knew it was going to happen. A lot of people knew this would take place. Some of his main supporters, they didn't really know. They didn't understand that he would do this. But, a lot of us that have been dealing with certain, things in this system, in the American system, in the government for a lot of years, we understand that, these people are going to do things like this. They're going to tell you whatever they need to tell you to get into office, and then they're going to go against everything they say. And that's not a Republican thing alone, but Democrats do it as well. They vote on issues, they get voted in to do certain things, and they get in there with their whole plan, whole opposite. They just told you whatever they needed to tell you to get the seat. That's how this thing really go. He said he would stop war. He's starting more war. Gas prices and everything will be better. They worse. You know what I'm saying? So, You got to know what to expect with these people. And what's really scary now is what I'm hearing from Republicans. A lot of big, well-known name Republicans are coming out against Donald Trump. And they're saying the no kings thing. I think he don't want to be a king. Donald Trump want to be a god. He don't want to be a king. He want to go down as a god. And I'm hearing a lot of conspiracy theories with Donald Trump possibly being an antichrist. Because in Revelations, they say some things about when the trumpets blow. So they're saying that's his name. And when we hearing all these wars and the trumpets blow, World War III, this is like the ushering in of the Antichrist and the new era. So it's crazy. You know, it's a lot going on, but I don't know. He playing into all of these conspiracy theories. He's playing into all this right now. So, what you think? What way does it look like it's going to go? It doesn't look like we're going to have the same America after Donald Trump.
Hey, there's so much to take in with this photo. I can't even begin to tell you. So, obviously, the most concerning part of this picture, among the many concerning things in this picture, is Donald Trump has AI'd himself as Jesus Christ. And in my view, it looks like he is healing a young Jeffrey Epstein. Now, you might be saying, Harry, that's stretching a little bit.
Who is that?
Like Jeffrey Epstein. Well, I choose to believe that.
Who is that he's healing? Who is Donald Trump healing in this picture? Donald Trump needs to heal himself. If he can heal anybody, he needs to start with himself. He needs to start in healing himself first. It's always, you help yourself first, and then you help other people afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump went straight to healing Epstein. Is he bringing Epstein back to life in this photo? Like, what is this? Like, what photo is this? Like, who does this? What's ridiculous out here?
Because if Donald Trump had the ability, I think he would very much choose to heal his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. It looks like he's healing a young Epstein. And what a narcissistic thing to post. Donald Trump really does think that he is God. Whether you're a religious person or not, you can see what Donald Trump is doing here, that he believes he's Jesus, he believes he's God, he believes he's holier than thou, more powerful than anybody in the universe. And that is incredibly concerning for the president of the United States to believe. There's a lot to take in.
If he thinks he's the most powerful person in the universe, this is wild. I can't front. Stone to the bone. Salute. If he thinks he's the most powerful person, if he think he God, he the president. Forget a king. They had a bunch of marches for no kings because what they think is Donald Trump is trying to turn America into a kingdom, right? And crowning himself king. But if he think he God, not even a king, he think he God, he's wilding. He is tripping out here. Donald Trump is wilding.
On this image, let me know what you think about it in the comments. I'm just blown away by the narcissism of our president. And we all know that he's a narcissist. I'm not exactly surprised that he's posting something like this, but it is still shocking every day that this is the situation we find ourselves in, that this is considered normal, and it happens pretty regularly. And if you were wondering if Donald Trump stopped there with the AI image of himself as Jesus Christ, he did not. He followed it up with a photo of a Trump Tower on the moon. So I guess Donald Trump wants to do that now as well. This is all taking place,
Trump Tower on the
moon.
moon.
2 hour stretch. Very sane thing to do for sure. And then he also posted this image attacking Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden. He says he's only served for 5 years in office, which we know is not true, obviously. And the ironic thing about this photo is that he's criticizing all these men who have done a lot in their careers, and he's trying to hype himself up, who has done nothing in his career except hurt people, as if that's somehow a good thing. Now, the final thing I want to show you is Donald Trump was asked after he posted this rant on social media, not that one, but this one, attacking Pope Leo. He was asked, like, why did you do that? Why did you attack the Pope out of nowhere? And this was his answer.
And they're going to go back filled up with oil. Okay?
Why did you attack Pope Leo on True Social?
I don't think he's doing a very good job. He likes crime, I guess. He hit us. Think of it. He's worried about fear. What about the fear when the ministers and the priests and all of those great people that were arrested during...
How he got beef with the Pope? This is all a play, though. I'm gonna show y'all how this is a play. I'm gonna show you how this is a play. This is all a play. He trying to cover up some other things that's making big news right now.
And in many cases, they're outside 10 feet apart, and they were arrested. So we don't like it. We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
You know what's a fun fact that I think people forget about Pope Leo is that he was a registered Republican. He was a registered Republican. We don't know how he voted previously. Don't know how he voted in 2024, but he was a registered Republican. And this is how you know that Donald Trump has moved so far away from what the Republican Party was.
I got some more stuff for y'all on here. Let me do a quick search. Let me do a quick search on his TV. Melania Trump. She's in the news right now as well. And I think this is why he went on his rant the other night. Melania Trump. Here we go. Here go a good one.
We now know why Melania Trump gave a very strange, unexpected, and surprising speech about Epstein a couple days ago. It's because her friend Amanda Ungaro is speaking out, is saying things that Melania has to defend, and is likely going to be talking to CNN on Monday. Now, we have gone through many different interviews, lots of articles, and through Melania's own book to bring you this story and to let you know what is going on. Now, this is a very complicated web of relationships and lies and stories, and we're probably just going to be able to give you a little bit about what's happening. But I wanted to bring you this because I think this is truly the key to a lot of what is going on in the White House. And it, of course, all has to point back to Epstein. Now, as we said, Melania Trump gave this speech yesterday. Remember when she said this?
I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at the New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania.
Well, we actually went through the book and we looked into it, and she's right. That is in the book. Here it is. On chapter 5, hi, I'm Donald. Quote, my boyfriend is throwing a party at the Kit Kat Club tomorrow night. She said, please come. We haven't seen each other in so long. This was a friend of Melania's. Now, this person is not actually defined or named in this book, but I've come to learn that that person is Amanda Ungaro. You're going to hear a lot about her. Here she is with her then husband, and of course, Donald Trump and Melania Trump. Here's Paulo with Melania and Trump. Here's all four of them for our Independence Day post. Here they are again for the New Year's in 2022. Here they are at Christmas time, looking thrilled, absolutely thrilled. So you get the idea. These people were quite close. They knew each other. And the key to all this is Amanda, who knew Melania before any of this, and who likely knows the truth behind so much of what we still don't have answers to. And she's speaking up. But first, let's just get into who Amanda is just a little bit. Amanda met Paulo through modeling. Paulo owned an agency called ID Models. And Amanda originally came to America on Epstein's jet. Says here, at just 16 years old, Amanda Ungaro was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Now, it's been reported before that she was 17, but we're learning now that it was much earlier in this interview.
It's
Paulo
getting deep.
Zampoli discovered Amanda as a middle schooler. He has 15 years her senior, searching for a future as a model in Brazil, and he began grooming her at age 15. Paulo Zampoli.
Yo, you see how listen, in this video, you're gonna see how all this stuff is connected. This girl Amanda, she been in all of that. She's seen all of this stuff happen with her husband and all this stuff. And now she's saying, you're gonna see what she's saying.
Wooed her as a client, she said, persuaded her to move to the United States, and began a romantic relationship with her that would last 2 decades. Mr. Zampoli said this didn't happen until Miss Ungaro was 19, but in an interview on Substack with Becca Day, it says here that in an interview on January 18th, it says, I have proof that Paula began to try dating when I was 15 years old, and it is true that I was on Jeffrey's plane as a teenager. I was only 16 years old at the time when I was playing as.
She said, I have proof that the dude that was 15 years older than her tried to date her when she was 15 years old. She got proof of that. This is why these people is getting extradited. This is why you hear about all this stuff. Let me tell you something. She knows so much. I'm surprised she ain't disappeared. With the powerful people that she going against right now, she gotta watch herself. She better be very, very aware of her surroundings and what's going on, because this can get dangerous fast.
Now, in a Portuguese article, it's reported that she said that their relationship began in 2002 when she was just 17 years old with a promising career, while he was a 32-year-old modeling agent based in New York. Now, Epstein was a frequent visitor to ID Models, the agency founded by Zampoli, and the two once explored acquiring elite model management in 2004. And we all know that that is one way in which Jeffrey Epstein found his victims, through Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, what's really interesting is that in the early 2000s, Zampoli and Epstein discussed buying a modeling agency. Later, Zampoli also named a partner in the now defunct Ocean charity funded by Ghislaine Maxwell, Terra Mar Project. So you see how these things are kind of all interconnected.
Do you see this?
Now,
let me put a like on this too. 115K likes. Listen, this right here is the news. This is why Trump did that. He said, I got to troll something. He said, I got to troll God to get this out of the news, out of the news feed, this girl Amanda. And that's why he's trolling the Pope. And that's why he's trolling, that's why he's doing that, to cover up this big story that's about to hit. Not just on him, but on his wife, Melania, as well. This is the first time we really hearing somebody using her name. But we're going to go into that.
Paulo and Amanda maintain very good relationships with Melania and Trump. I mean, they just have so many photos together. There are just so many pictures.
Look,
so
they still don't know us.
Knew each other. Paulo even says in an email that Donald Trump changed his life. Trump offered Paulo a job in real estate. Here's more photos of them. They are just, these folks loved a camera. All right, so these folks are very interconnected. And just to show how much they were connected, Donald Trump named Paulo special envoy for global partnerships. That's about a year ago on March 11, 2025.
Look.
And Amanda Ungaro was appointed to a ceremonial role as an ambassador for Grenada.
Look, so she got, hold on. So check it out. He got a seat in the White House, and so did she, but she got deported. You're gonna see some more stuff about her. But look, at one point, Ungaro was herself appointed to a ceremonial role as ambassador of Grenada to the United States. She got a ceremonial role as an ambassador. Just how tight they was in with the politicians and the Trumps and the powers that be. Once you on board, they can just bless you in. This was going on out here. You ain't got no political background, no nothing. They just putting you in a seat, giving you something for the loyalty. You showing us loyalty, you ain't blowing up our history. You know what's really going on. Keep your mouth quiet, and you could be something too. Check it out. It's nasty out here.
Nations through Zampoli's connections to the White House. Okay, so these are people who are very close to the Trumps. They had enough power that they got promoted into various aspects of our government, and everything was fine and dandy until these two broke up. Now, why are we talking about Amanda? What does this have to do with anything?
Now look, imagine how many people is seated in this government with these tricky backgrounds, with suspect things in their backgrounds, because they kept their mouth closed from things they might have seen that they know was bad or foul. Imagine how many people, how long this been going on, how many seats have been given up, how many positions have been given up in government to these type of people. You see what I'm saying? This is nepotism. This is what this is called, nepotism. You didn't earn that. You didn't earn that when that's given to you. When something is given to you because you close to a family member or something, it's called nepotism when they do that in government. You know what I mean? But this is a well-known fact of what people do. This has been going on for hundreds, probably thousands of years in governments around the world. America's no different. Nepotism didn't start here. It's been going on in governments everywhere, though. Let's get back into it.
Okay, here's why. Because you remember from about a month ago, Paolo Zampoli had her arrested. He asked ICE to detain the mother of his children. Last June, the man credited with introducing Trump to his wife
This is wild.
asked administration for a favor. Paolo Zampoli, a former modeling agent turned presidential special envoy, had learned that his Brazilian ex-girlfriend was in a Miami jail, arrested on charges of fraud at her workplace. They had been in custody battle over their teenage son. Now he saw an opportunity. He reached out to a top official at ICE, explaining that his ex was in the country illegally, according to records obtained by the New York Times and a person familiar with the communications. Could she be put in ICE detention? That could help get his son back. And that's exactly what the Trump administration did. DHS, which oversees ICE, said in a statement that Ms. Ungaro was detained and deported because she was on a long expired visa and had been charged with fraud. Quote, any suggestion that she was arrested and removed for political reasons or favors is false. As I'm sure you're thinking, as I'm thinking, that statement is bullshit. Of course, Donald Trump's friend got favorable treatment. So the woman who was friends with Melania was deported.
So they got her locked up by ICE. They sent ICE at her. She got money. Fraud, whatever. That, you don't know what's going on. But they got ICE. They called ICE and got his wife deported while he going through something with the, this is crazy. But this is what goes on, man. This is some real shit. You got to watch this. This is like, this is like some real, this is a movie right here. This is going to be a movie. This is going to be a movie. Somebody's going to make this into a movie. I can see it already.
Ex, and Melania didn't do anything to stop it. And so that got Amanda kind of pissed. And remember, Amanda, Paolo, Melania, Trump, they were all running in the same circles. They were hanging out, emailing each other, giving each other jobs. They knew each other very well. So that is why two things happened. One, Melania gave this crazy ass statement. And two, what we didn't know, but other people saw, was Amanda was tweeting at Melania Trump saying the following. Now, I actually saw these in real time. Unfortunately, I didn't have the foresight to actually screenshot them because Amanda deleted these tweets. And here are some of them. Melania, I was around you for 20 years. You knew I was inside ICE, and you know what hurts after all this time. I stayed close to your family, your mother and your father, not because of you, but because of them, at events and everything else. So shut your mouth when speaking about me, because I will expose everything I know. She wanted to say, I have nothing.
And this is why Melania made that post out of nowhere. She made the post out of nowhere. They're like, yo, why Melania is making this post? Nobody knew, because she's seen this tweets. She's seen these tweets from this girl, Amanda. She's seen them, and that's why she made that post.
Lose in my life. I will tear down the entire system. Be careful with me, bitch. I will tear down your corrupt system, even if it's the last thing I do in my life. I will go all the way. I am not afraid. Maybe you should be afraid of what I know, of who you are, and who your husband is. I will take legal action against you and your pedophile husband. I've known you for 20 years. You knew I was detained at ICE. You were president of my life, and every year my son's birthday, even sending Secret Service and being the first to congratulate him back in 2016. Something was clearly wrong, but I am not part of any evil mission involving children. So what did you do, Melania? You tried to involve me, but you failed because I have character. So
they try, see, and let me tell you something. When people is doing bad, the first thing they're going to do to keep your mouth closed is to get you involved. If I get you involved, now I got something on you. Now you can't talk because you involved too. But Amanda's saying, you tried to get me involved, but I had character. I had character, so you couldn't get me involved. You see what I'm saying? So now the question is, how did you try to get her involved? What did they do? What is the story? Amanda is supposed to be doing a story today on CNN. She's supposed to be doing a show today on CNN on one of these channels. And I think that's the reason why you see this big Trump trolling Jesus Christ right last night, trolling the Pope, all these arguments that Trump is doing, all this stuff is doing is just a way to keep this out of the news cycle, because that's kind of bigger. The president saying he's, posting up himself as Jesus Christ and all that. I mean, he got people that's out there, that's media people that know how to control the narrative in America. So that's what you see going on. That's what you really see going on. But this is the real story here. This is the real story that's trying to be covered up right now.
My. Very interesting stuff, isn't it? Now, as I said, it's very complicated. There's a lot of hills and valleys to walk through. But if I can just summarize all this, the woman who has known Melania for 20 years, the woman who she credits in her own book, invited her to a party where the person that she says introduced her to Trump is the same person who got deported by ICE and is on a vengeance tour and is willing and ready to expose everything. That is what brought us to this moment here, because Melania knows that Amanda Ungaro knows everything and she has nothing to fear. She's not even in this country anymore. So they're not even going to be able to shut her up in the same way they would if she were here. So perhaps what this was all about was that Melania was doing what all Trumps do. They were trying to get ahead of the story before it came out. They were trying to set the narrative before the narrative was created. The only thing is Melania is not very sophisticated. She did not do a good job of laying out what her version of the events were. In fact, what she did was created more questions. And that's one reason why we all started to dig. And digged we did. So this is very interesting to me. This is very interesting to me. And we are learning now. Amanda just told a reporter that she is going to be doing an interview on Monday.
You see that?
CNN.
You see that?
So this is very interesting to me. This is very interesting to me. And we are learning now. Amanda just told a reporter that she is going to be.
Amanda just told me she is going to doing an interview on Monday with CNN. Sunday night, Trump is going crazy, tweeting all kind of things that don't make no kind of sense, beefing with the Pope, acting like he God, posting AI posts like he God. That's to cover up this interview that Amanda's supposed to be doing on Monday on CNN. I'm waiting for that interview. I want to see that interview. But let's just end this out.
On Monday.
It's nasty out
with
here.
CNN. So this is all going to be coming out very, very quickly. And that is the reason why Melania Trump spoke out when she did. Because I'm just going to say it. I don't think Amanda was saying these words lightly. She says, I will take legal action against you and your pedophile husband.
At Floaters 45.
With her full chest. She also says down here, Melania, you tried to involve me in an evil mission involving children, but failed because I have character. Let's go back to this statement again, because remember, it's very interesting what she says here. She talks about crimes. Why would she bring up crimes? No one's ever said Melania is connected to crimes before, have they? I don't think we've talked about this a lot. We've never said Melania was engaged in crimes, and yet she felt the need to say she's never been involved in crimes. Let's listen.
Depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior.
That's the ticket there. Because no one ever, as far as I know, there's been a lot of accusations pointed around, but no one has ever said Melania Trump is connected to the crimes. And yet, Melania Trump felt the need to say that as Amanda was saying, I'm not part of an evil mission involving children. Melania, you tried to involve me, but you failed. So we're gonna learn more. But my thing is, this seems to have legs. There seems to be some there. There's no reason why Melania Trump would come out and say a statement like that if what Amanda was talking about wasn't real.
Yo, it's about to get nasty out here on these streets. Y'all know the work I be doing over here on Hood Love. I stick to a lot of the, celebrity news, some things I like to focus on certain points. But we can't just be talking the celebrity stuff, the rap stuff, and hip hop stuff when there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that we need to be knowing what's going on and we need to be seeing it. Especially, we all adults, we voting. It's a lot of stuff going on. So, I'm definitely going to be bringing y'all more like a lot of political stuff that I'm seeing, a lot of the things that really coincide with a lot of stuff that I talk about, especially pertaining to like the Antichrist and, religious stuff. Sometimes I dabble into that. I get into that as well here at Her Love. So, that's some of the things I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about this story as well. We're gonna jump into the interview. I want to hear this interview after Amanda Uruguay makes this interview and see what she has to say from there. But I know whatever she has to say is gonna be explosive and it's gonna take over. It's gonna take over the news in America. They're trying to put other stuff to filter it out, but it's gonna take over the news in America. You know what I mean? But you already know what it is, Mr. Hood Love, Mikey B, and this is Hood Love TV. The Hood Love Network, where you live, love, and learn. Until the next one, appreciate y'all for tapping in. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment. Drop a comment on that photo. Make sure y'all drop a comment on that photo that Trump reposted of him being Jesus Christ. We got to know about that. You know what I mean? But you already know what it is, man. Salute. It's Mr. Hood Love, Mikey B. Salute.